Lord Moylan.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, the people of Northern Ireland must have access to the full range of medicines available to people elsewhere in the UK. We are currently in intensive discussions with the Commission to see if we can establish a consensual way of resolving the current difficulties in this area, among many others. Some progress has been made, but agreement has not been reached.
My Lord, does my noble friend agree that Her Majesty's Government have an unique and inescapable obligation to ensure the flow of medicines to all parts of the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland, without disruption or barriers, that the imperatives of health exceed any contractual obligations we might have with partners or friends, and that the Government would not only be justified in taking, but is required to take all necessary steps to ensure that the medicines continue to flow to Northern Ireland as now.
My Lords, I very much agree with the question posed by my noble friend. There is obviously an obligation on this government, as any other, to provide medicines throughout the United Kingdom. Indeed, we would argue, and I think it would be accepted, that the provision of medicines is an essential state function, as set out in Article 1 of the protocol, and that's why it's important to find a solution that respects that.
My Lords, it has been suggested in some quarters that a deal in medicines could be imminent that would result in the EU changing legislation to ensure that medicines, including generics and innovative drugs, could be licensed by the UK legislator for the GB licence holders so that they could flow freely to Northern Ireland. When will the noble Lord the Minister and the Government sign up to this approach and create the momentum that could lead to agreement in other areas?
My Lords, there are a number of difficulties in this highly technical area of supply of medicines. We have been looking at the proposals made by the Commission. The problem set out by the noble lady is not the only issue that needs to be resolved. At the moment, we're not confident that what's on the table would resolve all the issues, but we continue to talk.
My Lord, does the noble Lord the Minister accept that the grace period to allow medicines to come to Northern Ireland from Great Britain is about to run out, and that will have devastating consequences on the supply of medicines, over-the-counter and essential drugs for hospitals, for people in Northern Ireland? What is he going to say to people in Northern Ireland to bring certainty on this vital issue? And will he accept that medicine should never have been part of the protocol in the first place? Why was it part of the protocol?
So, my Lords, the grace period indeed formally expires at the end of this year, but we are also in a standstill that was agreed between the two sides back in July that keeps current arrangements running. So it's our expectation that the current grace period arrangements will continue beyond the end of the year, as long as we are in constructive discussions with the EU. The existence of the grace period has meant that some of the supply difficulties we had earlier in the year have changed, but obviously we need to find a permanent solution to this problem.
It's vital to give certainty to the people of Northern Ireland on healthcare. In taking his decision tomorrow during the negotiations, does the Minister agree that now is the time to put pragmatism before ideology?
So, my Lords, we would love to find an agreement if one is available. We think that the proposal that we made to take take medicines out of the protocol entirely would be the simplest way of solving this problem. But we continue to look at the proposals the EU have put on the table. At the moment, we don't have the necessary detail or understanding of the text to enable us to accept these proposals, but we continue to talk.
My Lords, would my noble friend agree with me that the simplest and probably best solution would be if there were mutual recognition between the United Kingdom and the EU of the authorisations of the European Medicines Agency and our MHRA? That would be a bilateral trade-related solution that would also serve the needs of Northern Ireland.
So, my lords, that might indeed be a possible solution. It's not one that's been part of the discussions at the moment, and I think the regulators on both sides regard their discretion closely and the ability to proceed at the speed that they think best, as we've seen this year on vaccines licensing.
There can be no question of any interruption to the supply of medicines to Northern Ireland. This is urgent for the UK, but we should remember as well that the EU needs to resolve this for Malta and Cyprus as well. Patients, their families and clinicians need certainty. Will the Minister confirm that he is not taking a nothing is agreed until everything is agreed approach? Because the EU needs to resolve this issue on behalf of Member States, it's likely that it will present further suggestions imminently. And does the Minister accept that the supply of medicines should be dealt with as a priority and, if necessary, separately from other Northern Ireland Protocol issues?
So, my lords, I repeat that the government will not allow there to be any disruption to supply of medicines to Northern Ireland. That's an absolute obligation, as I've said, on this government, and we won't allow it to happen. Of course, medicines are only one of many problems that we've put on the table. They are a special case, if you like, of the issue of supply of goods more generally into Northern Ireland. So I don't think it can be seen entirely in isolation. It needs to be solved as part of many of the other difficulties on the protocol.
My noble friend, the Minister, will be mindful of the fact that I have a family horticultural business, but I was, before the House met today, I was on a call with the National Office of Animal Health, who emphasised to me that animal health medicines are also part and parcel of this package. And I would ask my noble friend if he was similarly negotiating for those.
So my noble friend raises a very important aspect of this question. Actually, although veterinary medicines are part of the general discussions we are having with the EU, they are by no means as far advanced as the discussions on broader medicines. So he is right, the noble lord is absolutely right to raise it as an important question, but unfortunately we're some way from a solution on that matter.
Important as medicines and trade are, does the noble lord the Minister recognise that the main challenge of the Northern Ireland Protocol is a possible constitutional crisis?
So, my lords, we're very well aware of that aspect. We're well aware the protocol is not working for the people of Northern Ireland. There are societal, economic difficulties, identities being eroded, compounded by trade diversion. We need to restore the balance if we're to avoid a loss of confidence in the institutions established under the Belfast Good Friday Agreement, and that's what we are working to try to ensure.
My Lords.
I think it's astonishing that the Minister himself confessed in the answer to a previous question that this is just one of many problems arising from the agreement. He is the Minister who negotiated that agreement, every aspect of it. When is he going to confess that he messed it up?
Well, Lords, I think it's well known by now that I was the Minister who negotiated this agreement. I think it's also well known that the agreement required careful handling, which is not received during this year, and that's why we face so many of the problems that we do now face and are trying to deal with.
My Lords, it's most important that the second question was why was it there in the first place?
Medicines in the
My Lord.
So, my Lords, as I said in an answer to an earlier question, medicines is a special case of the general issue of supply of goods into Northern Ireland, and as the protocol covers the issue of supply of goods into Northern Ireland, it includes medicines. It has created special difficulties that we're trying to resolve.
My Lords, I think coming back to the issue of the supply of medicines, I understand that one of the issues currently in these negotiations is that there is further information which apparently is not being provided to the UK government. Could my noble friend perhaps elucidate a bit more on this, because obviously we all want this to be achieved as soon as possible?
So I thank my noble friend for his question. He's absolutely right that in an area as technical and complicated as this, it's obviously essential that we have full access to all the detail, all the potential legislation, all the potential guidance that's issued. And at the moment we don't have that. We haven't been able to see it all, but I hope we might be able to before too long. It's obviously not possible for us to reach agreement unless we have access to that level of detail.
My Lords, that concludes oral questions for today. First reading of a private member's bill. Lord Bard.